What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back once again to the Thrash Maniac 99 YouTube channel, and I am back with yet another album review, and today I'm talking about my personal most anticipated release for this weekend, and one of the most anticipated releases of the year, the latest offering from Amorphis, Borderland. This comes out on September 26th, this time on Reigning Phoenix Music. Man, Reigning Phoenix Music's just starting to get all the bands now. But anyways, this is the 15th studio full-length overall. I went over their last album, Halo, in 2022, which I thought was an awesome album. Made my year-end list, and yeah, it was just fantastic. So, Amorphis, most of us should know who they are by now, but for the few that still don't, this is a Finnish extreme metal slash heavy metal band, kind of like a hybrid, I would say, of progressive metal, folk metal, classic heavy metal, and melodic death metal, with touches of hard rock thrown into the mix a little bit to kind of add a little bit of a slightly more mainstream appeal, but without sacrificing the heart of the band. Just basically an amalgamation of all those things wrapped up into one package, and that's how you get Amorphis. So, yeah, and they've gone through quite a few trajectories over their career, which I might go more in depth about in a future ranking in a couple of years. But let's go ahead and talk about this brand new album. So, I didn't listen to the singles. I waited until the album was here, and here we are talking about it. So, kicking things off with The Circle, and then immediately, like, some of the melodies that start coming in kind of feel a little bit 80s based, like a little bit of like, I would say like Judas Priest a little bit, maybe even like late 80s Iron Maiden, but done with like this modern, almost hard rock tinge. And then it gets into like a nice galloping rhythm, but man, the riff writing, quite catchy to start things off. And then of course, Tommy Yeltsin's vocals. I mean, I spoke at length about his vocals on the Halo review, and holy shit, he just continues to show why he's one of the most dynamic vocalists in all of metal, because the guy has such a great clean vocal and an awesome roar when it comes to like the more death metal sections that you get here and there on this album. But man, I just gotta say, like, I wrote on almost every song big or huge chorus, because Amorphis know how to write chorus hooks unlike any other band from Finland, it seems like. It's just, they know how to come up with awesome hooks that just bring you in, like, just when you thought you were going away from it, they just keep pulling you back in. And it's like, no, you are going to love these hooks whether you like it or not, and you're going to deal with it, and eventually you'll love them. Like, almost like, Grr! But no, I never really got that, like, being forced vibe out of it. That was just a metaphor of, like, yeah, we just want you to really like these hooks, so we're going to write some strong hooks. Man, this album's got so many hooks throughout. And then, of course, we go into tracks like Bones and Dancing Shadow. Those two songs in particular start to kind of bring in some more of that, like, folk metal vibe. Particularly, it sounds more like Middle Eastern folk, like bringing in like either sitar or just playing a melody that felt very reminiscent of Middle Eastern folk. Like, especially at the beginning of Dancing Shadow, like that guitar melody just felt very much straight out of the Middle East, almost like they're channeling a little bit of Orphanland or a less brutal Nile almost. But going back to the track Bones, it starts off with a huge, heavy, sinister riff, but with great strings, like the orchestral aspects. When they pop up, which is not that often, they kind of act more as an embellishment over the part that it's accentuating a little bit. And of course, the song itself does bring in more of that like melodic death metal influence, but Dancing Shadow is really where like the classic heavy metal vibes start coming into full swing. Even tribal drums, which are really cool. And I gotta say, I love the vocal dynamics on this track, where you get like Tommy's clean and harsh vocals coming together, and it just creates this like intense feel within the song, which is a great addition. And then I'll touch more about this later, but then we get into tracks like Fog to Fog, where you get like piano and organs with the strings, and it's kind of a more somber sounding track. Like the guitars that follow are a little bit on the sad side before it suddenly just goes from sad to soaring and epic with the gallops, the melodies, the classic metal riffing, even a little bit of chug coming in on top with the guitars. And then starting from the strange all the way through to the end, these songs, well, actually all the songs have a cool beginning, but really starting from, I would even say Fog to Fog is where you get like more piano driven intros. But with the strange, it's rather whimsical with the piano and acoustic guitars before it gets into these like big double time stomps that kind of again bring in more of the melodic death metal vibe. But then you get into songs like Light and Shadow, The Lantern, and the title track. All three of them kind of start a little bit similar, which is both a gripe but a positive because the piano and synths all have different moods. Like Light and Shadow kind of felt a little more soaring. The Lantern gets a little bit dark, a little sinister. And then the title track, somber, sad, sorrowful. Like, at least the mood of the beginnings were changed. I just wish maybe they could have rearranged the track list a little bit so you wouldn't have those songs going back to back to back with a similar formula of the intro, but just changing the mood. But also, I gotta go back a little bit to the track Tempest. That song brings in, really, in my opinion, I get a lot of Catatonia vibes, like the acoustic guitars, the somber melodies at the beginning, and even the groove made me think of Catatonia, more like modern Catatonia, but done a little bit better than, say, the new Catatonia album. But then the following three tracks, like Light and Shadow, like I said, it's just a more triumphant song with a big double time gallop. The Lantern, it's more darker, sinister, and it builds tension pretty nicely. And then the title track, just kind of like a combination of epic and somber. And then the closer, Despair, big guitar melody and piano play at the beginning before you get this huge tremolo melody on top of a groove. And dare I say, some of like the background melody has a bit of an atonal vibe. Kind of made me think of Mastodon a little bit. Now, lead work is awesome on here, and in particular the two tracks Dancing Shadow and Tempest, you get keyboard solos that are well done that lead into the guitar solo, which always adds a nice complement between keyboard and guitar. Production wise, this album's crisp, rich, and full. It was produced by Jacob Hansen, so this is actually the first time they've gone with a new producer in quite some time, because for a while it was Jens Bogren. Now they're working with Jacob Hansen, so it kind of gives it a little bit of a heavier crunch, at least to the overall tone. As far as any complaints go, apart from that minor nitpick of Light and Shadow, The Lantern, and the title track going back to back to back with a similar formula to the beginning, other than that, excellent songwriting on here, once again, coming up with great hooks, but a lot of heft in some when it gets down to the heavy parts. I'm going to give this a 4.5 out of 5 as well. Man, this month's just been strong with great releases, and this is yet another one that more than likely will be on my year-end list. I mean, Amorphis is one of the most consistent bands of all time, and they show no signs of slowing down, and this album certainly proves it. So if you love Amorphis, chances are you're already going to get this, but for those who aren't familiar with Amorphis, but are familiar with bands like, I would say, like Catatonia, dare I say even like Dark Tranquillity, maybe even a little bit of Opeth, FINLAND, and hell, even some classic metal like Judas Priest. Check this out. This is some awesome stuff. But of course, those are just my opinions. What did you guys think? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. But until next time, thank you for watching. Keep your horns high and your dreams wet.